When we learn about slavery, there are many stories that get excluded. Stories of resistance and uprisings. Most of us think that our ancestors were complacent about the conditions that they were in. The truth is, from the shores of Africa to the shores of the Americas, our ancestors fought. And today, we're going to look at one of the greatest fights, Haiti, and how they fought for freedom and gained their independence.
Most American school children learn to recite this little phrase. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
And one of the first islands scarred by his presence was called Hispaniola, today called the Dominican Republic and Haiti. The island was originally inhabited by the Carib and Arawak people. The Spanish was the first to conquer it and make it a Spanish colony. You know, I really don't like to dress up what actually happened. They killed, murdered, exterminated the natives and took their land as their own and brought enslaved Africans to work, all under the guise of being civilized and to make money.
We came from a distant land, our lives already planned. We came in ships from across the sea. Never again home we'd see.
In the 17th century, France was given control of the western section of the island, and the colony was named Saint-Domingue. This tiny island was producing 40% of Britain and France sugar imports and 60% of the world's coffee. This was the richest colony in the world. Those figures alone tells me that there was some serious exploitation of our ancestors.
Our masters saw we worked from morn till night, never given human rights. Though years passings remain the same, children born with no last names. What is to become of thee?
Many planters in the West Indies found it easier to work a slave to death in his or her prime working age than to be bothered with them in their useless old age. Therefore, the average lifespan of an enslaved African brought to this island was 7 years. Black lives were indispensable. And needless to say that the cruelty and the torture on this island was sadistic.
How are we to know what this land would bring? That our blood would flow because of the color of our skin being black. Being black.
Death is sweeter than continued life under tyranny.
No matter how much Europeans were pressed and oppressed, armed resistant movements and uprisings from our ancestors occurred all across the island. On August 14, 1791, an independent revolutionary struggle was prepared and led by Boukman Duty, who was brought to Saint-Domingue from Jamaica. Boukman Duty, along with other leaders of the runaways and maroon communities, met late on the night of August 14th in the forest of Bois Cayman to finalize the plan for the uprising. Bookman led a voodoo ceremony to invoke the names of the African gods to protect them from weapons of the enemy. With a sword in his hand, he reminded the freedom fighters of their suffrage under the hand of European colonialists. He ordered the leaders to come together to fight to the death for freedom. And on August 22nd, it went down. Enslaved Africans killed slave owners and set fire to this crop that they were being exploited for. Burned it up. On November 7th, Bookman Duty was captured and executed. His head was cut off and placed on a pole, displayed for all to see in order to instill fear and intimidation, hoping to stop the uprising. But it didn't work. It intensified the revolution. More than ever, freedom or death. Toussaint Overture was captured by the French and sold into slavery to Haiti. At a young age, Toussaint's godfather, a free Negro, taught him how to read and write. His French slave master liked Toussaint. He respected his intelligence and his quick ability to learn. At the age of 33, Toussaint became a free man, purchasing his freedom from his slave master, a small plot of land, and 13 slaves. Yes, he became part of the same exploitative system of the European colonialists, mimicking the likeness of his oppressors over his own people. But Toussaint was what people consider successful. His wealth quickly expanded, and he gained contacts in the US, England, Spain. He married and had children. He purchased his children's freedom and was able to send them to a fine, decent school, military school in Paris. And Toussaint was able to continue to do what he loved, reading. And one book in particular changed Toussaint's life forever. A book written by Ab Reynal raised his consciousness, which showed the human rights violation of the slave population in Saint-Domingue. He could no longer turn a blind eye to the collective conditions of his race for the sake of his own personal gain. He could no longer turn a blind eye to the collective conditions of his race for the sake of his own personal gain. You get my point. At the age of 50, Toussaint dropped everything, his wealth, his fine home and property, and moved to the hills with his enslaved brothers and sisters and joined in the fight. At this point in the fight for liberation, the slave Maroons were disorganized. They were fighting for the freedom of individual Maroon clans, but Toussaint saw the bigger picture. Freedom for all. So he unified all of these different Maroon communities into one large army. It was with this unified army that they were able to defeat the English, the Spanish, and the French. Understand that Toussaint could not have led this army alone. Amongst all of his noble warriors, there is one powerful leader that stands out. Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Born an enslaved African, Dessalines was known for being a tactical and ruthless leader. Although he was illiterate, he became a greater soldier than Toussaint in terms of his fighting abilities. He did not hesitate to fight colonizers in the same manner that they fought Africans. Even Toussaint didn't always agree with Dessalines' tactics, but he grew up seeing how uncivilized the European colonialists were and understood being diplomatic with an undiplomatic enemy would not gain you independence. In 1801, Napoleon of France, deciding to make one more desperate attempt to retake this island, sent 60,000 troops to Haiti, led by Charles Leclerc.
France was assisted by massive help from England, the main imperial power, by the United States, by others. I mean, the idea that black people could gain freedom was really frightening to the West.
After 2 years of fighting, 20,000 soldiers in the African army crushed the French. Deciding that they couldn't win against this African army, tried a political tactic. They sent a message to Toussaint that they would give Africans their freedom if Toussaint would meet with them in person to negotiate. Toussaint's camp, along with Dessalines, told him, "Don't do it." Toussaint, being very diplomatic, decided to meet Leclerc at his base camp. Toussaint was taken into custody, shipped off to France, placed in a dungeon cell, exposed to the cold climate, eventually dying of pneumonia. But that was the wrong move by France, because an army that was once led by a more diplomatic leader was now taken over by Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and he didn't trust colonizers one bit. Dessalines wanted total independence and showed no mercy in ridding European colonialists from the island. Dessalines took over and defeated the French for the second time, and on January 1st, 1804, after removing the remaining slave owners, officially proclaimed the country's independence, renaming it Haiti. Haiti. The name given to the island by the indigenous people. Haiti did not fight this enemy just for the blacks in that country. They fought and created an independent country for every black in the world, especially those who were being subjugated to the harsh treatment of Europeans.
Haiti is a very, 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 very important island in the Pan-African struggle. Haiti brings pride to Africans who know history. In 1803, Haiti was the most democratic country in the world. It was the only country in the world that did not allow slavery on its borders. The only country in the world in 1803. Once you properly understand this history, because you know these capitalist pigs have such a way of making it appear as if we've never done anything as Africans. We don't know democracy. We don't know democracy. In 1803, Africans gave the freest world, the freest nation to the entire world. The only country in the world that did not allow slavery was Haiti. And not only did not allow it, but the only country in the world that put its natural resources towards fighting against any oppression was Haiti. Simon Bolivar, who liberated South America, anyone who knows the history knows it was Haiti that gave him the money, outfitted him with ships to start the struggle. And the Haitians demanded only one thing of Bolivar. When you free Venezuela, when you free Colombia, when you free Argentina, when you free Peru, free the slaves. The only condition of which they required of Simon Bolivar. This is history. You can't hide the truth, and if you know your history, you look for your history, you'll find it. You can imagine the threat that that Haiti imposed upon America since 1803. There was nothing that American imperialism, one other thing I must tell you. From this period, 1803, Haiti fought every major European power, the Americans, the French, the Spanish, the Germans, the Portuguese, all of them, trying to bring Haiti down, and not one of them could make Haiti renege on her democratic principles. On that country, there would never be on that territory a slave. Every man, every woman was free. You just make it to Haiti and you're free, no slavery. Everywhere else, there was slavery. Everywhere else. In the great America, they were, let's not talk about that. So anyway, you could imagine the threat that Haiti posed. American imperialism, all of its life, had only one objective, to bring those slaves back onto the plantation. There was only one objective, bring those slaves back to the plantation. And America, France, all of them could not bring Haiti back to the plantation. Even after slavery was made illegal throughout the Western Hemisphere and was even abandoned and emancipation proclamations were read everywhere, Haiti continued to be the guiding inspiration for Africans throughout the Western Hemisphere.
After their independence, Haiti continued to fight for others to gain their freedom. And for that, we thank all of our revolutionary-minded brothers and sisters of Haiti.